It started with a missing package. I'd owned my lake house for years. It was my weekend retreat, a peaceful spot tucked into the woods, right on a private cove. Aside from a few neighbors and the occasional fisherman, it was quiet, serene, and mine. Or at least it should have been. The HOA in this lakeside community had always been a bit overbearing, but I kept my head down and paid the dues. I rarely interacted with them until the day my security system sent me a motion alert, and I saw a family unloading groceries into my house. At first, I thought maybe I'd been hacked, but when I checked the footage, I realized the gate wasn't broken. The lock wasn't picked. The access code had been entered correctly, the one I hadn't shared with anyone in over a year. Something was very wrong. I immediately drove up from the city, furious. When I arrived, I found what looked like a full-blown vacation rental in progress. Kids playing in the yard, two SUVs in the driveway, and beach towels drying on my railings. I parked and marched up to the porch. A woman in oversized sunglasses and a Lake Life shirt opened the door and said, "Oh, are you the owner?" I told her yes. Her face paled. She stammered something about booking the house on Lux Stays for the weekend. Said she paid over $1,200 for 3 nights. My stomach dropped. I calmly asked for the listing, and sure enough, there it was. My house. Photos of my furniture, my dock, even my golden retriever in the background of one photo. The host name? A first name only, Karen. I knew exactly which Karen. Karen, the HOA president, had always been nosy. She once measured the height of my backyard fence and left a passive-aggressive note when my dock light stayed on past 10 p.m. But this was fraud. I called the sheriff immediately and showed him everything. The listing, the code logs, the security footage, and even past reviews. Turns out Karen had been renting my lake house out for nearly 6 months. She'd used her master HOA key, meant for emergencies only, to access the property, change the smart lock code, and even swapped out a few of my decorative items to make the photos look more curated. She'd been making thousands. The sheriff escorted the renters off the property, apologetically I might add, and filed an official report. Meanwhile, I headed to the HOA office. Karen wasn't there, but her assistant tried to stonewall me, insisting Karen had permission from the board. I demanded proof. None existed. 2 days later, I showed up at the next HOA meeting with a binder full of screenshots, documents, timestamps, and a sworn statement from the renters. When Karen arrived, she looked smug until she saw me. I stood up during the open forum and calmly laid out everything. Karen, I said, is not only guilty of trespassing, but she has committed rental fraud, violated multiple HOA bylaws, and abused her emergency access authority. The room went silent. Then I dropped the bomb. I've also filed a civil lawsuit. The sheriff's report is included here. Karen turned pale, tried to speak, but couldn't get out more than a few incoherent words. The HOA board had no choice. They unanimously voted to remove her as president that night. The crowd clapped. One guy even brought me a beer afterward. But I wasn't finished. I filed for damages. Over $24,000 in unauthorized rental income, plus legal fees and compensation for security upgrades and emotional distress. I also added a clause to the community rules barring any future board member from accessing private properties without written consent. The judge ruled in my favor. Karen was ordered to pay $28,000 and serve 30 days of community service. Last I heard, she's been repainting fences and scooping lake muck for minimum wage under court supervision. As for me, I added 3 more cameras, changed the locks, and got a German Shepherd named Ranger. Now, whenever I visit the lake house, it's back to peaceful mornings, fresh coffee on the dock, and not a single HOA Karen in sight.